Okay, so ready to dive into a world where algorithms could be like your ultimate wingman, actually predicting how your relationships are going to go. Crazy, right? AI and love.
Yeah, it is pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. And what's really fascinating is that it's not just some like far-off futuristic thing. We're actually seeing it happen right now. The lines between technology and like actual human connection are starting to blur.
Absolutely. So for this deep dive, we are exploring how AI is literally changing the whole landscape of love and relationships. We're looking at some excerpts from a podcast script called Get This AI in Love, how artificial intelligence is changing relationships a lot. And it's got a host named YashodaG and a guest expert named Leonardo.
Sounds interesting. Yeah, it's a really interesting look into how people are thinking about this topic right now.
Yeah.
And it definitely brings up some really important questions.
For sure. And, I think this is relevant for everyone, honestly. If you're super techie or just a hopeless romantic who's thinking about, the future of love, AI's impact on relationships is something we all need to be aware of. Like, did you know that some dating apps are already using AI to pick out your best photos? It's like having a digital wingman, but can it really understand what makes us swipe right?
I think that is the big question, isn't it? Can an algorithm actually get all the nuances of human attraction?
Exactly, and that's a perfect place to start. Let's unpack how AI is already changing things up in the world of dating apps.
Okay, well, one of the key things that's happening is that these apps are using algorithms to analyze tons of user data. So they look at things like who you like, who you dislike, your swipes, and then they use that information to suggest matches for you.
I've heard about Tinder's smart photos feature. Does that use like a similar type of algorithm?
Yeah, exactly. Smart Photos uses AI to choose which of your pictures will probably get you the most swipes. And it's based on how other users have interacted with similar photos.
Oh, so it's like the AI is learning from like the collective swiping behavior of everyone using the app. It's kind of creepy, but also kind of cool at the same time.
Yeah, it definitely brings up some interesting questions about how AI is, influencing how we see attractiveness and even how we present ourselves online.
Yeah.
But it doesn't just stop at picking photos.
Oh, right. They talked about AI analyzing conversations too. Can you explain what that's all about?
Sure, so AI can be used to look at the sentiment of your messages, meaning it can try to figure out if you're coming across as positive or negative or neutral.
Mm.
And then this can be used to kind of fine-tune the user experience, maybe by suggesting different conversation starters or even flagging behavior that might be problematic.
Wow, so it's like AI is trying to be your dating coach, like guiding you toward a good match. But does that really work? I mean, can AI really understand, all those complicated emotions that go into human connection?
That's a big question, and it's one that YashodaG and Leonardo really struggle with in their podcast. They talk about how even though AI can process language and see patterns, it's still a long way from being able to really replicate the emotional depth and intuition of human interaction.
Right, because love isn't all about data and algorithms. It's about, that spark, that feeling when you connect with someone on a deeper level.
Exactly. And that brings us to another really interesting part of this whole AI and relationships thing, AI companions.
AI companion. So we're talking about more than just matchmaking now. Is this like having a virtual boyfriend or girlfriend?
Kind of, yeah.
Hmm.
AI companions are designed to give you companionship and emotional support. So they can listen to you, say encouraging things. They can even have conversations that feel surprisingly human.
I'm trying to imagine this. So it's like having a friend, but it's not a real person. It's AI.
That's the basic idea. And it's really pushing the boundaries of what we think of as a relationship.
Yeah, this is getting into some really deep stuff. I mean, is it healthy to get emotionally attached to machines? Where does that leave human relationships?
Those are exactly the kinds of questions that YashodaG and Leonardo talk about in their podcast. They talk about, ethical concerns, the possible psychological impacts, and, the bigger picture of what it means for society as more people start to form these bonds with AI companions.
Yeah, I can see how this could get complicated. On the one hand, maybe AI could provide companionship for people who are lonely or isolated. But then on the other hand, are we giving up genuine human connection for like the convenience of a machine?
Yeah, that's the dilemma.
Hmm.
And it's a conversation that we're just starting to have as a society.
It's definitely a lot to think about. And speaking of pushing boundaries, there's another aspect of AI we need to talk about. Its potential in creativity.
Oh, you mean like AI writing love letters?
Yeah. Is there anything AI can't do these days? It seems like every day there's a new headline about AI creating art or music or even writing entire novels.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And a podcast we're looking at actually has a part where they ask an AI to write a Valentine's Day poem.
No way. I have to know, how did it turn out? Was it like a masterpiece or a total disaster?
Well, it wasn't exactly Shakespeare,
Hmm.
but it also wasn't terrible. It actually rhymed and had some decent imagery.
So maybe more like a Hallmark card than a sonnet.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But what's interesting is that it brings up some really cool questions about what creativity actually is. I mean, we tend to think of creativity as something only humans can do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about emotions, experiences, those like bursts of inspiration that come out of nowhere. How can an algorithm copy that?
That's a great question. And it's one that researchers are still trying to figure out. But what if instead of thinking about AI as replacing human creativity, we think about it as a tool to like enhance and improve our own creativity?
Okay, I like that. So instead of AI being like the only creator, it's more like working with us.
Exactly. Like you bring the human part, the emotions, the experiences, the story you want to tell. And then the AI can help you find the right words, the structure, maybe even like the rhythm and rhyme to express all of that.
So maybe in the future, instead of, struggling to write the perfect love letter, we'll have AI assistants helping us write these heartfelt messages.
It could definitely happen.
Hmm.
Actually, some companies are already making AI writing tools for things like marketing and content creation. It's not hard to imagine those tools being used for personal stuff, even something as personal as a love letter.
That's amazing. I'm starting to see how AI could be used in all sorts of ways in our relationships.
And if we look at the bigger picture, there's so much potential. Think about relationship counseling, for example.
You mean like AI therapists? Is that even a thing?
Well, maybe not in the traditional sense, but think about what it could do. An AI could analyze how partners communicate, find potential areas of conflict, and even suggest ways to work through disagreements based on, data from relationships that have worked out.
Whoa, so AI mediating arguments. That's a really interesting idea. It seems like the possibilities are really endless.
They really are. And as AI gets more and more advanced, it's going to be harder to tell the difference between artificial intelligence and human intelligence, especially when it comes to something as complicated as love and relationships.
That's what's so crazy to me. Where do we draw the line between human connection and artificial connection? What happens to intimacy if those lines get blurry?
Those are some of the biggest questions we're facing right now. And I don't think there are easy answers.
So, are we going towards a future where we're all depending on machines for our emotional needs? Or could this be like a new era of even deeper connection because of technology?
That's a great question, and one we'll keep exploring. But for now, let's take a break and think about all of this.
That sounds good. I'm already thinking about all the implications of this, and I bet our listeners are too. This is definitely something that makes you think.
For sure. And we'll be back soon to finish our deep dive into AI and relationships, exploring even more of this really interesting and fast-changing landscape.
Okay, so back to this whole AI and relationships thing. Remember that Valentine's Day poem we were talking about? The one YashodaG and Leonardo had the AI write?
Yeah, the one that was supposed to show how creative AI can be.
I'm still curious about how that turned out. Did the AI actually write something, heartfelt, or was it a total flop?
Well, it wasn't exactly Shakespeare, but it wasn't terrible either. It actually rhymed and had some okay imagery.
So more like a Hallmark card than like a real poem?
Yeah, that's a good comparison. But the interesting thing is it raises some really interesting questions about like what creativity actually is.
Hmm.
We usually think of creativity as something only humans can do.
Yeah, for sure. It's about emotions and experiences and like those moments of inspiration that you can't explain. How can an algorithm do that?
That's a great question. And it's one that researchers are still trying to figure out. But what if instead of thinking about AI replacing human creativity, we thought about it as a tool, like something that can make our own creativity better?
Okay, I see what you mean. So instead of AI being like the only one creating, it's more like working with us.
Exactly. You bring the human element, the emotions, the experiences, the story you want to tell, and then AI can help you find the right words, the structure, maybe even the rhythm and rhyme to express it all.
So maybe in the future, instead of, trying to write the perfect love letter, we'll have AI assistants helping us craft these really heartfelt messages.
It's definitely possible. Some companies are already developing AI writing tools for things like marketing and content creation. So it wouldn't be surprising to see those tools used for personal stuff, even something as intimate as a love letter.
That's wild. I'm starting to see how AI could be used in all sorts of ways when it comes to relationships.
Yeah, and if you think about the bigger picture, the potential is huge.
Hmm.
Like, what about relationship counseling?
Wait, are you talking about AI therapists? Is that a real thing?
Maybe not like a traditional therapist, but think about the possibilities. An AI could analyze how partners talk to each other, find potential problems, and even suggest ways to solve disagreements based on data from, successful relationships.
Whoa. AI mediating arguments. That's a pretty mind-blowing idea. It feels like there's so many possibilities.
Yeah, there really are. And as AI gets more advanced, it's going to be harder to tell the difference between artificial and human intelligence, especially when it comes to something as complex as love and relationships.
That's what I find so fascinating and a little scary. Where do we draw the line between human connection and artificial connection? What happens to intimacy if those lines get blurred?
Those are really important questions. And to be honest, I don't think there are easy answers.
So are we heading towards this future where everyone is relying on machines for their emotional needs? Or could this be like a new era where we have even deeper connection because of technology?
That's the challenge, isn't it? And it's something we have to figure out as a society. We need to have honest conversations about what's right and wrong when it comes to AI, about the good and bad things that could happen, and about what kind of future we actually want.
I like that. It's not about being afraid of the future, but about actually shaping it, making sure it prioritizes human well-being and connection.
Exactly. We need to be informed and engaged and willing to ask the tough questions.
That feels like a good place to pause for a second and let all of this sink in.
I agree. And when we come back, we'll wrap up our deep dive with some final thoughts and maybe even some predictions about what the future holds for AI and relationships.
Welcome back. It feels like we've only just started talking about this whole AI and relationships thing.
I know, right? The more you think about it, the more there is to uncover.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are like your biggest takeaways from all this?
Well, I think the most important thing is that AI isn't some far-off idea anymore. It's a part of our lives right now, and it's already changing how we experience love and connection.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what's next. We've talked about AI as matchmaker, as a companion, as a creative tool. But what about AI helping us communicate better, or work through conflicts, or even build stronger relationships?
That's a really good point. Like, imagine having AI tools that could analyze your conversations and then point out patterns and give you personalized advice to help you talk to your partner better.
It's almost like having a relationship therapist right there in your pocket, giving you feedback all the time.
Exactly. And think about what it could do for conflict resolution. AI could help couples figure out how to calm down, find common ground, and learn to communicate more constructively.
Wow, AI helping couples stop arguing. That's a pretty powerful idea. It seems like the possibilities are just endless.
They really are. And as AI gets smarter, it's going to be harder and harder to tell the difference between artificial intelligence and human intelligence, especially when we're talking about something as complex as love and relationships.
That's what's so mind-blowing about all of this. Like, where's the line between human and artificial connection? And what does it mean for intimacy if that line becomes blurry?
Those are some really big questions, and I honestly don't think they're easy answers.
So are we headed for this, like, dystopian future where we all rely on machines for our emotional needs? Or could this actually be a new era where we have even deeper connection because of technology?
That's the question we'll leave you with. The future of love in the age of AI is something we're still figuring out, and it's a future we're all going to be a part of creating. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's given you a fresh perspective on how love and connection are changing in this digital age. Okay, so uh, are you ready to maybe find love with a little help from AI?
Maybe.
Well, I mean, it's not exactly like, the robots are taking over the dating scene or anything like that.
Not yet, at least.
But AI is playing a much bigger role in the world of dating apps than most people realize.
It is, and I think that's something most people don't really even think about.
Right. We're talking about those apps that everyone knows, like Tinder, Bumble, Hinge.
The big ones, yeah.
And we're going to go on a deep dive today into how these apps are using AI.
We're going to see what YashodaG and Leonardo had to say about it, too.
Yeah. It's going to be a fascinating deep dive. You might even learn a thing or two to up your own dating app game.
Or if you're not into the whole dating app thing, I think this is still going to be a super interesting look at how AI is changing the way we connect with each other.
So to start, AI has been used for recommending stuff, right?
Right.
Like movies on Netflix and music on Spotify.
Exactly. And for filtering out spam in your inbox.
Totally.
Yeah.
But now it's helping people find potential dates. And honestly, that's kind of mind-blowing, right?
It really is. I mean, think about it. AI is stepping into this super complex world of human relationships. It's kind of a wild idea when you stop and think about it.
So how does it all work?
Yeah.
How is AI actually being used on these apps?
Well, it starts with something called an algorithm. You've probably heard that word thrown around a lot these days. But basically, it's like a set of rules or calculations that a computer uses to make decisions.
Okay, so the algorithm kind of like sifts through all the data on the app.
Exactly. It looks at your profile information, the things you say you're interested in, who you swipe right on, who you swipe left on.
Okay, so that's super interesting. So it's not just about who you like.
Yeah.
It's also about who you don't like.
Precisely. It's gathering information about your preferences, trying to figure out who you'd be most compatible with. It's constantly learning, and it gets smarter the more you use the app.
And it looks at more than just your profile too, right? I read that it can even look at the conversations you have with matches.
Oh, absolutely. It analyzes things like how often you message each other, how long your conversations are, even the types of things you talk about.
So basically, Big Brother is watching our every move on these dating apps.
In a way, yes. But the idea is that it's all in the service of helping you find a better match.
Okay, that makes sense. And I mean, everyone wants to put their best foot forward, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've heard that Tinder's using AI to help with that too, with this smart photos thing.
Ah, yes, smart photos. That's a really interesting feature. What it does is analyze how people are responding to your different photos and then automatically chooses the ones that get the most right swipes.
No way, it's like AI is picking the best photos for you.
Yeah, it's basically like having a personal stylist for your dating app profile.
That's so cool. So it's kind of like constantly tweaking and optimizing your profile to make it as attractive as possible.
Exactly. And it goes even deeper than that. AI can also analyze the actual conversations you have within the app.
Wait, really? So it's like listening in on our chats.
Well, listening might not be the right word, but it's analyzing the text, trying to gauge the tone of the conversation. Is it positive, negative, flirty, friendly? It's called sentiment analysis.
Okay, sentiment analysis. That's new to me.
It's super interesting stuff, and get this, it can even offer suggestions or prompts to keep the conversation flowing. It's like having a digital wingman or wingwoman helping you navigate the sometimes awkward world of online dating.
Okay, so we've got AI picking our photos, AI analyzing our chats. AI is practically a dating coach at this point. But all this is making me wonder something.
What's that?
I mean, can AI really understand something as complex as human connection?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think there's an easy answer.
Right.
It's something Leonardo actually brought up in the discussion we're looking at today. Like, yeah, AI can crunch all this data, identify patterns, and make predictions, but can it really grasp the emotional depth of human interaction?
Because, sometimes you just click with someone. Right.
Totally. And it's not always something you can explain logically. It's about those subtle cues, the shared laughter, the unspoken connection, the stuff that makes two people really spark.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It seems like AI is definitely changing the dating game in a big way. But maybe there are some aspects of love and connection that are just, well, uniquely human.
Absolutely. It makes you think, as AI continues to evolve, could it one day predict relationship success with like incredible accuracy?
That's a fascinating thought.
Or will those essential human elements always be the key ingredients in the recipe for lasting love? The spark, the intuition, the shared experiences. It's something to ponder, right?
Yeah, it really is. And on that note, we're going to leave you all with that question to mull over. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI and dating apps.
Until next time.
Ever swipe right and wonder if, an algorithm is kind of pulling the strings?
Mm.
Well, today we're going deep into AI and love, all thanks to this super interesting conversation between these tech experts, YashodaG and Leonardo.
Yeah.
Really got me thinking about how AI is already messing with, well, not messing with, but shaping how we find love and experience it.
Right.
It's pretty wild, actually.
It is. And something YashodaG and Leonardo talk about is, how AI in dating apps, it's not just about matching you up with someone who likes, say, the same music.
Yeah.
It's it's starting to show us things about human attraction itself.
Yeah, it's revealing stuff we didn't even know.
Yeah.
Did you know that AI analysis of swiping patterns, those things,
Yeah.
suggests that a lot of times we are attracted to people who look like our siblings?
Ooh.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, there's some deep down evolutionary thing happening there.
Oh, wow.
Creepy or cool? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, but it definitely makes you think. And then it gets even weirder, even wilder when they start talking about how AI is refining the whole dating app experience.
Yeah,
Have you ever heard of sentiment analysis?
I have.
So some apps are using that, right, to analyze your chats and figure out if you and your match are, vibing.
It's basically like having a little digital wingman,
Mm.
whispering advice in your ear,
Mm.
which, I mean, it could be super helpful,
Yeah.
but it could also be really awkward.
Yeah, totally, totally.
But, Leonardo makes this really interesting point. He says, even if AI can perfectly predict who we're attracted to,
Yeah.
can it really replace, that deep emotional connection you have with a person?
Exactly.
Can an algorithm really understand the heart? You know what I mean?
That's the question, right? That's the big question. And that takes us to,
Yeah.
the next level of this AI and love thing,
Yeah.
which are AI companions. And these aren't your regular run-of-the-mill chatbots. Think about Replica.
Oh, yeah, Replica, yeah.
It's an app that's made to, provide actual emotional support, but through AI.
Yeah, it's wild. It's like having a friend, like a real friend, but it's AI. So
Right.
YashodaG was saying she's really interested in that, the potential mental health benefits,
Yeah.
especially, for people struggling with loneliness or anxiety.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. It makes you wonder, though, will we, get to a point where people become so attached, emotionally dependent on these AI companions?
Yeah.
Because, they can be super engaging.
Right.
And they're learning about you all the time. They're adapting to you.
Yeah, it's a little, I don't know, it's a little,
Tricky.
yeah, tricky maybe.
Yeah.
But on a lighter note, YashodaG and Leonardo asked an AI about its Valentine's Day plans.
Oh, that's great.
And it said it was staying in to work on his poetry, which I thought was pretty funny.
Oh, that's amazing. Clever bot. But, jokes aside.
This whole thing about AI's influence on us emotionally, I mean, we're talking about technology that can, like, simulate empathy and connection.
Right.
Like, at what point, where do we draw the line?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we went deep with YashodaG and Leonardo, and here's the takeaway, the big takeaway. AI is already, it's already mixed up with our search for love
Yeah,
in ways that we probably don't even realize.
definitely.
And it's bringing up some seriously big questions, about authenticity, emotional dependence, and even just what it means to have a real connection in a world where AI companions are like a thing.
Totally. It's a
Yeah.
whole new world. And it leaves us with this thought. How will we define real connection as AI gets, more and more advanced?
Right.
And how are we going to, like, navigate these lines that are getting blurrier and blurrier between human relationships and relationships with AI?
Yeah.
This is a conversation I think we all need to be having, because the future of love, I mean, it might be a lot more digital than we think. That's definitely something to think about. So think about this. In a world where you could, like, design the perfect AI companion,
Mm-hmm.
what would be the most important thing to you? Would it be shared interests, emotional intelligence, or, I don't know, maybe just a really great sense of humor?
Yeah.
It's a fun thought experiment, and it might tell you something about, your hopes and fears about love in the age of AI.
Absolutely.
AI playing matchmaker,
Yeah.
maybe even becoming your date. Sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
believe it or not, artificial intelligence is already changing how we approach relationships.
Yeah.
Like, it's happening right now, today.
Yeah. It's way more common than people think.
Is it really?
Like, those dating apps?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's on them. Like Tinder.
Uh-huh.
They've got this thing called Smart Photos. It uses an algorithm, basically, to figure out, out of all your pics, which ones get the most,
That wipes.
Yeah, the swipes. Exactly. And then it puts those at the front of your profile. So basically, AI's picking your best shots for you.
So it's like your digital wingman.
Exactly.
I mean, that's kind of cool. It takes the pressure off.
I'll
Does
say
it actually work?
Well, the algorithm is all about getting you more matches. That's its goal.
Okay.
But here's the thing, and this is interesting. Studies show that people, when they're picking their own photos, they go with what they think looks best. Right. Makes sense. But the algorithm, it's looking at what appeals to, like, everyone else.
So, like, the masses.
Yeah, the wider audience. So it's not really about your best photo. It's about what gets you those swipes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this algorithm's seeing stuff we don't, huh? What else is it picking up on, you think?
Well, actually, there's some apps out there now that use AI to, get this, analyze your conversations, like the actual chats you're having on the app.
Wait, really? I heard about that. I
Yeah.
thought it was just a gimmick.
No, it's actually pretty sophisticated. They're using natural language processing to understand, like, the sentiment behind your messages.
Sentiment.
Yeah, like, is it positive, negative? Are you being flirty? That kind of thing. It goes way beyond just the words you're saying.
Wow, that's kind of scary.
It is kind of Big Brother-ish.
But fascinating.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, can an algorithm really understand all that? Like, the subtleties of how we talk, especially when it comes to, like, romance?
That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, the answer is it's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
AI is great at spotting patterns and trends, but, like, the really subtle stuff, like human emotion,
Yeah.
the context behind what we're saying, that's still hard for her to grasp. Think about sarcasm.
Oh, yeah.
Even we get that wrong sometimes.
Totally. It makes you think of those, like, futuristic movies, where people are falling in love with AI companions.
Oh, right, like Her.
Yeah, Her or Ex Machina.
Those movies are so interesting because they touch on something really deep,
What's that?
Like, what does it even mean to connect with someone? Could we ever really connect with AI on that level?
I mean, is that even possible?
That's a tough one. I mean, AI is getting more advanced all the time, right? And we're getting more and more used to talking to machines every day.
So you're saying these AI companions might not just be a movie thing?
Well, let's just say it's not impossible.
Okay, but then what happens when, like, people start preferring AI relationships to, real human ones?
Whoa. That's a question for the philosophers, maybe.
Maybe.
But here's what we can think about right now. How are these dating apps, with all their AI and algorithms, how are they changing our expectations? And how are they changing how we behave in relationships?
That's a good point.
Food for thought.
So basically, we've gone from AI just picking our best profile pick to, like, potentially reshaping what it means to connect with someone.
The whole landscape's changing.
Crazy. So to our listeners out there, what do you think about all this? I mean, where do we go from here? This is just the beginning of the conversation.
Absolutely. The future's wide open.
It really is.
Who knows what's next?
Yeah, who knows? All right, everyone, welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into a topic that's both intriguing and kind of, well, maybe a little bit scary, to be honest.
Yeah, I get that. It's definitely one of those things that makes you think, where is this all going?
Exactly. We're diving into the world of AI and relationships.
AI is popping up everywhere these days, and its influence on how we connect with each other is, well, it's growing, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we're not just talking about, like, robots taking over the dating scene, although I gotta admit, that thought has crossed my mind.
You and me both. But we're also talking about the very real ways AI is already shaping how we find love and build relationships today.
We're talking dating apps, AI companions, and even, like, the philosophical questions about whether AI can ever truly understand the human heart.
Heavy stuff, but definitely worth exploring.
Absolutely. So to guide us through this deep dive, we've got some fascinating research and expert opinions to draw from.
We'll be looking at how dating apps are leveraging AI to match people, the ethical considerations, and even what the future might hold for AI and relationships.
Buckle up, folks. This is going to be a wild ride.
So let's start with something many of us are familiar with: dating apps.
Oh yeah, Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, they've become a major part of the dating landscape.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that AI is playing a bigger role in these apps than most people realize.
It's not just about swiping left or right based on a photo anymore. I mean, it's way more complex than that.
You're absolutely right. AI algorithms are now analyzing tons of data, like user behavior, preferences, even the way you interact with the app.
So it's like AI is trying to understand what makes you tick, what you find attractive, all that stuff, right?
Exactly. For instance, Tinder has this feature called Smart Photos. It uses AI to figure out which of your photos gets the most right swipes.
Oh, wow. So AI is basically your wingman, picking out your best profile pics.
Pretty much. And it goes even deeper than that.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, some apps use what's called collaborative filtering.
Collaborative filtering. That sounds pretty techy.
It is. But basically, it means the AI looks at patterns in your behavior, your swipes, your profile info, and compares it to other users with similar tastes.
Okay, so it's finding people who are like you, who have like similar profiles to yours. That's pretty cool. I can see how that would make matching more effective. But what about the actual talking part?
Ah, yes, the dreaded first message.
Can AI help us navigate those sometimes awkward initial interactions?
Well, believe it or not, AI is being used for that too.
Get out of here.
Some apps are incorporating AI-powered features that analyze your conversations in real time, trying to understand the sentiment.
Sentiment. So, like, is it a positive vibe, a negative vibe?
Exactly. And some AI can even suggest icebreakers or conversation starters to keep things flowing smoothly.
Wow, it's like having a digital dating coach in your pocket.
Right. It's pretty wild. But this all begs the question.
Does AI really understand enough about human connection to, like, actually help us find lasting love?
You hit the nail on the head. That's the million-dollar question. I mean, can an algorithm truly grasp the nuances of attraction, compatibility, all those things that make a relationship work?
Yeah, that's the part that makes me wonder. It's easy to get swept up in all the cool tech stuff, but at the end of the day, relationships are about human connection. And our sources did go into detail about AI companions, but
That's a whole other fascinating and maybe a little unnerving aspect of this topic. We've seen it explored in movies like Her.
oh yeah, where the guy falls in love with his virtual assistant.
Exactly. It raises questions about whether, AI could actually provide companionship and emotional support.
Could we form genuine bonds with AI, even romantic ones?
It's a mind-bending thought, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
And what about the ethical side of things? I mean, is it okay to get emotionally attached to a machine?
Yeah, that's a big one. What happens when AI starts to blur the lines between real and simulated relationships? What are the potential consequences for society? These are all questions we need to be grappling with as AI keeps advancing.
I agree. This whole deep dive is kind of making me look at the future of relationships differently. It's both exciting and a little bit scary all at the same time.
Well, as you think about all this, here's something to consider.
Okay, hit me.
Even if AI itself can't actually feel emotions, could it help us humans understand and express our own emotions better? Think about it. Could it be a tool for improving communication in our relationships, even if those relationships are still with other humans?
It's an interesting thought. Makes you wonder what the future holds, for sure.
Well, folks, that's about all the time we have for this deep dive into the world of AI and relationships.
It's been a wild ride, and we hope you'll join us next time as we continue to explore the fascinating and sometimes mind-boggling impact of AI on our lives.
See you then.
Bye, everyone. Okay, so today we're gonna dive into something
Yeah,
that I think is like changing faster than maybe anything else,
it really is.
and that's how AI is like weaving itself
Yeah,
into like the fabric of our relationships.
absolutely.
And we've got some pretty juicy source material for this one,
Oh,
straight from AI influencers YashodaG and Leonardo,
love them.
and they had a pretty intense discussion about all this stuff.
They did.
So we're gonna unpack it all for you.
Let's get into it.
You know how like dating apps seem to suggest
Yeah.
matches that at least like on paper, seem
Well,
pretty compatible.
oh, totally.
Well, that's not magic, it's algorithms.
That's true.
So to really understand what's going on there,
Yeah.
let's break it down a bit.
Well, these algorithms are kind of like digital matchmakers,
Okay?
constantly learning from your swipes and your profile details,
Right.
even how long you look at certain pictures.
Oh.
They're crunching massive amounts of data
Okay.
to try to predict who you'd click with.
So it's like having a supercomputer playing Cupid,
Aha, exactly.
but instead of arrows,
Yeah.
it's using like data points and behavioral patterns.
That's right. Patterns are everything.
I mean, these algorithms are getting crazy sophisticated.
Oh, they really are.
Think about Tinder's Smart Photos feature.
Yeah.
Like, it analyzes which of your pictures
Uh-huh.
are most likely to get you a right swipe,
Right.
and then, like, automatically
Yeah.
prioritizes them on your profile.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like having a personal stylist
Yeah?
for your online dating persona.
It's not just about connecting with people anymore. It's like
Yeah.
presenting
Yeah.
the most appealing version of ourselves
Absolutely.
with AI,
Yeah.
like curating our digital image.
That's right.
I mean, do you think this impacts how we perceive ourselves?
I think so.
Like maybe even pushing us towards these
Definitely.
unrealistic standards of attractiveness?
It's a valid concern if an
Yeah.
algorithm is telling us which photos make us like,
Right.
quote unquote, the most desirable. Does that influence how we see ourselves
Yeah.
in the mirror, you know?
Right.
It's a question worth pondering, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
But dating apps are just the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine an AI that not only like finds you a date,
Right.
but becomes this constant companion,
Yeah.
offering emotional support,
Uh-huh.
engaging in conversations,
Yeah.
and even simulating like romantic interaction.
Whoa.
That's the world of AI companions.
It is, and it's
It
fascinating.
is. I mean, we've seen this in movies,
Right?
like Her and Ex Machina,
Oh, yeah. Great examples.
but it's rapidly moving from science fiction
Mm-hmm.
to reality.
Totally.
And, you know, you might be thinking,
Yeah.
who would want a romantic relationship with a machine?
Yeah. Who would want that?
But here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
As AI companions become more sophisticated,
Right.
they can like learn your preferences,
Yeah.
anticipate your needs,
Oh.
and offer a level of personalized interaction.
That can feel incredibly fulfilling.
Yeah.
Even intimate.
So it's not just about replacing human connection,
No, it's not.
but maybe like enhancing it
Yeah.
in ways we haven't even thought of yet.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so
Mm.
fascinating and complex.
Totally.
It challenges us to rethink our assumptions about relationships and consider what truly matters in a connection, whether it's with a human or an AI.
Wow. So we've got AI picking our best photos and maybe even becoming our romantic partners.
It's wild.
I mean, where do we even go from here?
Well, Yashoda and Leonardo brought up this really interesting example of how AI can enhance
Okay.
creativity within relationships.
Yeah.
They actually used AI to generate a romantic poem.
Whoa.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Getting a unique AI-crafted love poem
Right?
from your partner
Yeah.
for Valentine's Day.
Oh, that'd be something else.
That'd be something.
It's almost like AI is becoming this creative collaborator in our relationships.
Yeah.
Helping us express ourselves in new and interesting ways.
And that's a crucial point.
Well.
AI isn't just about algorithms and data.
Right.
It's also about exploring new possibilities
Okay.
and expanding our horizons.
So what does this all mean for us?
Well,
AI is already reshaping the landscape of relationships
it is.
in some pretty profound ways.
Yeah.
From how we find partners
Mhm.
to how we express affection.
It's a powerful force
Yeah.
with incredible potential.
Right.
But it also comes with big questions about authenticity,
Right.
ethics, and the very nature of human connection. And that's the key takeaway.
Okay.
As AI continues to evolve,
Right.
it's up to us
Yeah.
to engage in these conversations, explore the possibilities,
Yeah.
and shape the future of relationships in a way that aligns with our values and aspirations.
Okay.
And maybe, just maybe, this
Yeah.
journey into the world of AI will ultimately lead us
Mhm.
to a deeper understanding of ourselves
Yeah.
and what we truly seek in our connections with others.
So if AI can learn our preferences so well,
Right.
could it eventually help us understand ourselves
That is the question.
and our needs better?
Yeah,
That's something for you to ponder
it is.
as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of AI
Yeah,
and relationships.
absolutely.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.